Okay.
Gotcha.
And so when we go live, it's being recorded, so it kind of acts as our podcast. So if you guys want to share it or anything like that, we get a lot of viewership afterwards as well too. So, yeah, but we'll talk about.
So which one is first? Like, what are you doing first in terms of? I remember you talked about like a 15-minute thing and then an hour thing.
Oh yeah, this is our internet show right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we'll do
The
that
hour.
for a while. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do that for a while, and then afterwards, we'll do the pre-recorded show.
Gotcha.
For it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You good?
He said, does he need his headphones?
Yeah, that would be helpful. Also, but real quick before, we'll definitely talk about the film.
Yeah.
Of course, talk about fundraising for the film, but also let's talk about history. You know, and and then how God put this in your heart to do this project, and let's talk about each other first.
Okay.
You know, Pastor, we'll talk about your connections to San Diego as well, but you went to Westminster, right?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And I went to USD for undergrad.
Oh, okay. And then we'll talk about, you know, your acting. I looked you up, and you got a lot of accolades. So
Accolades?
Don't get this guy. No, keep him humble.
Yeah, but after the song, we'll come in, and then she'll recap the song, and I'll introduce us.
We're not going to a commercial break right there. Okay.
Let's go straight, unless you want to.
It's up to you.
No, let's get straight.
Okay.
Or do you guys need time to rest or talk? No, we're good to go?
They're like, we're ready.
Yeah.
Yes, I know everybody's familiar with that classic right there, but on the vocals, that is the latest release from Brian Courtney Wilson with Inner City Blues, Make Me Wanna Holla. Just before that was Landlord, all the way from the Bahamas with We Need Peace. You also heard Kevin LeVar and One Sound with A Heart That Forgives, and of course me and my band, Evangeline Moore with We Should Be Cool. Talking about reconciliation, if you guys have not gotten the gist of today's music block, it is about love, it is about peace, reconciliation, all of that, where God wants us to dwell in peace with one another, but we also have some tensions and some things that are going on in our world today, and we have to kind of work through it and pray through it. And a large part of that has to do with our special guests that are joining us live in the radio station right here on GODRadio1.com. You can actually tune in right now on YouTube. Go to GODRadio1.com on YouTube as well as on Facebook. You can see their lovely faces. They made the trek all the way down from Los Angeles, and we're so excited to have them here at the radio station. And Walter Coe, I want you to go ahead and introduce them.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited for this. I'm real pumped up for this, man. Welcome to the show, Pastor Leon Brown and Arnold Chan. Welcome to the show, fellas.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, yeah. Come up on the mics. Let's get it started, yo. First of all, let's introduce ourselves. Pastor Leon, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, born and raised in Los Angeles, 18, joined the Navy, so I spent 10 years in the Navy. Became a Christian in 2000. There was a retiring hospital corpsman, just think Navy nurse, who said, hey, you know I'm retiring? I said, yeah. And he said, why don't you come to church with me? I'm retiring to be a pastor. I said, no, that's for the birds. He's like, you need to come. There's this girl you like. I'm like, that doesn't matter. I'm still not coming. So eventually I said I would go to church, and the Lord saved me. And I was living about 5 hours south of London at that time. And then when I came back to the U.S., eventually went to seminary at Westminster in Escondido here, just north of San Diego.
Right.
And met my wife here. We actually celebrate our 14-year anniversary this month.
Wow.
And have 4 kids, and we're planting a church in L.A.
Wow. Our listeners are chiming in. Somebody said thank you for your service, so we appreciate that. Yeah. And now, thank you. Pastor, tell your wife, Lynn, she's a wonderful lady.
You know her. She knows you more than I really know you.
Right. Tell her I said hello. You have a beautiful family, by the way.
Yeah, amen.
And I know we got a lot of mutual friends at Westminster as well. Now let's go to Arnold. Arnold, man, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Yeah, of course.
You got such a polished resume, life story, all tight and concise. I'm like, man, I'm all over the place. I'm a Southern California native. I was born in Boston, but I grew up in LA since I was 2 years old. San Fernando Valley, my roots are, like you just told me, Granada Hills High School, Cleveland High School alumni. We had 1992 City Section Final Volleyball Championship on the line, and you guys won, and that was like a bitter point in my life. But we moved on from that with that.
Thank you.
Geez, I've been a Christian all my life, I would say. I grew up in the church. I was a choir boy, so Hollywood Presbyterian Church is where my father took me when I was very little. I almost burnt down that church. True story.
Really?
Yeah, you know, Hollywood Presbyterian at that time, Pastor Ogilvie, they would always have the Christmas special where the choir would sing.
I remember that.
The children's choir.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to be the kid that was going to play the xylophone. And so my mom was so excited. She was telling all her friends. And, you know, I was 8 years old at the time.
Right.
I was playing with some matches during choir practice. I'm not joking. I was a little kid, pyrotechnic. Playing with that. And I dropped one on accident, and the carpet caught on fire.
Wow.
And as we were playing, as we were rehearsing, the choir director sees the smoke from the back. I was trying to stomp it out with my foot. She dragged me out of the choir room, was so upset and so frustrated and angry, took me to my mom and said, your son just tried to burn down the church with his matches. We're kicking him out of the choir. He is possessed by the devil. I remember that because it was so dramatic. And mind you, my mom had already been telling her friends, my son is going to be on TV.
Right.
He's going to be playing the xylophone. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be during Christmas.
Yeah.
And it never happened.
Oh.
And so all her friends were like, so where's your son? I thought he was going to be on TV. Man, I walked away with my tail between my legs so hard, and I got whooped real bad for that.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway,
I'm surprised you're still alive today.
Yeah, I did my undergrad at UC Irvine, double major in East Asian European history. After that, went to Japan to teach English. It was my first experience overseas and, you know, trying to pay off my college debt.
Right.
When I came back, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was actually going to education. I wanted to be a teacher. That was kind of my heart and my passion in my church. I've taught Bible study, been involved in the children's ministry for many, many years. And after working in Japan, I realized that that wasn't my calling. So I started waiting tables, first of all, at Houston's restaurant, if you know that place.
Yeah.
Then I got recruited out to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Oh, okay.
The management training program. That was about 2000 to 2001. And then I found another recruiter that took me from there to work for a company called MCOR, which is a mechanical engineering firm. I did that from 2001 to 2003. I was headed to take a job offer at a pharmaceutical company, being a sales rep.
Okay.
And I was 27 at that time, making really good money, and I thought I want to just continue this really high times and living in that young, mid 27-year-old professional. However, God, I feel, really took me in a different direction. A young friend of mine. His name is Eric Kim. He was doing an independent movie for Madonna's company, Maverick, at the time, starring Sung Kang, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And they were looking for people to just come and volunteer. PAs, people to come on set.
Yeah.
I had never been on a film set in my life, mind you. I know that sounds unbelievable, but I'm a testament that you can grow up in LA and never be around the entertainment industry.
Right.
I would say my childhood is described as playing Street Fighter II, playing basketball at the different recreational parks, as you probably know, in the Valley, hanging out at 7-Eleven, playing more Street Fighter II, or at Family Fun Center.
Family Fun Center.
That's where we hung out at. Or going to the Northridge Mall at the space station, trying to talk about which girls we saw in there were cute and we want to take to the prom. Like, literally.
That's
That's what it was called, Space Station. Because they had that Street Fighter Hyper Turbo machine. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway,
you're taking me back.
Yeah, no, I had, I think, a very, very realistic, normal, average Valley boy kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And when I got into the entertainment industry, it just blew my mind at how different it was. Because you and I both know the Valley is a very diverse place.
Right.
We grew up around so many different kinds of people.
Exactly.
So my exposure with the entertainment industry when I got in there first was more on the technical side because I started learning like what comes into place to actually make a movie. I think the closest thing I ever got to that was the backstage Universal Studios tram tour. You know, with the Jaws coming out.
The tram
Literally,
tour.
that's like the only thing. Like that's what I knew about Hollywood. I didn't have any friends that were like actors. I didn't have any friends that were producers. I knew nobody that was a director. I didn't even do any theater or stage play. That was like far removed from us because as Korean Americans, our parents are like, no, you're gonna do math, science, engineering, anything that has to deal with academics.
Exactly.
And if it's music, it's only violin or piano.
Right.
You
And
don't
never
get to
make
do
it a
anything
profession.
else.
That's just to get you in college.
No dancing, no singing, no nothing of that sort. So when I saw that, it just became this infectious sort of journey of like, wow, this is really, really artistic and it's really fun. And mind you, Sung Kang was just a true professional as well, and I got to meet him.
Nice.
And I saw that from Better Luck Tomorrow.
Right.
And within 4 days of volunteering on that film set, the producer, he was like, hey, so why don't you come and work more for us? Why don't you come over here and just, get a full-time job with us? I said, well, I already have a job lined up. I appreciate the offer. But he just kept tugging at my heart and kept pushing at that. And somehow, some way, I look at it now, 16 years back, it was the Lord planning this journey for
Yeah.
doing something bigger and according to His plan and His purpose. And so I took a leap of faith and decided to not go in the pharmaceutical industry and to become a broke artist to start out.
Oh, yeah.
That's really what it is. I came from having a 6-figure job
Wow.
to barely making $6,800 my first year.
Mm.
And that transition was not only just humiliating and pride swallowing, but it had to make you reorient your lifestyle.
Right.
And I think through that process, as I shared with Leon many times, it started exposing a lot of the consumer culture materialism idols that I had in my life that I didn't know were there.
Mm.
And so upon that journey, the other thing that started becoming apparent was, wow, the vision that actually is there within content. And namely speaking, as I started to dive into the world of acting, because at first it was really just production related. I started learning what a coordinator does. I started learning what casting does. I started learning how extras get hired.
Yes.
Everything to just consume the understanding of the entertainment industry so that I could know how to apply it as a professional. And I started seeing like, wow, there's various different ways to generate revenue and keep yourself alive and survive. And so casting was one of those directions. And then within casting, as well as becoming an actor, I started seeing like, why do I keep reading for the same kinds of roles all the time? And mind you, this is 2004,
Come on.
2005. So
Yes.
before
We've
what
talked
we've
about
been
this.
seeing in the
Yeah.
revolution of just content in diversifying Hollywood and
Right.
so forth. And it was like, I'm another samurai guy. I'm another triad. I'm another
Right.
Korean liquor store owner.
Right.
I'm another laundromat guy.
Yeah.
Or I'm the tourist from Japan.
Right.
Those are the roles.
You know, those are roles that you'd go out for. It wasn't
Yeah.
even doctors at this point. It was just more like the very stereotypical kinds of things.
Right.
So, you know,
Yeah.
learning everything on the production end, I decided I wanted to maybe try my hand at directing my own thing.
Yeah.
So in 2007, I collaborated with Alonzo Jones, who's another African-American gentleman who I met on set as an extra. And we just started talking about this very thing about like, we should be collaborating, we should be coming together. So we naturally started sharing stories of our lives and thinking like, what could we do that's different? I said, you know, one thing that resonated in my mind that was so powerful was Menace to Society, Alan Hughes, who I also worked for in 2014 on Gang Related.
Wow.
It's just crazy how they come full circle. Anyway,
Wow.
Menace to Society was so powerful because of what the scene happens with O-Dog and his partner when they blow away, unfortunately, the Korean liquor store owners.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and so I was like, I see that so many times, over and over and over and over again. What if I flip it? What if I do something as a social anecdote to that kind of portrayal of my community and the African American community, and put the black guy as the liquor store owner, and put the Asian Americans or anybody else coming to the store as the customers.
Yeah.
And that was how Eli's Liquor Store came to fruition.
Yeah. Which one?
Genesis of that.
Basically, which one awards? Just one. I know
so-
you were going to
yeah,
say
so
it,
that
but I'm
one-
going to throw that in.
Yeah, that film went across the country to major film festivals, and it was very much championed in the African American community. It won the Harlem International Film Festival. It was nominated for the Melvin Van Peebles Award. It was the runner-up for the best short film at the Hollywood Black Film Festival, the Langston Hughes Black Film Festival. So many of them, but
Wow.
surprisingly, and I hate to say this,
Yeah, I know what's
Asian-American
coming.
community. The Asian American community did not give the recognition that it was due.
Oh,
And
really?
I don't know to this day for what exact specific reason in each place, but it was shocking to me that so many of them did not accept it. And so that to me presented an awareness of like, something's not right here, because I'm not putting Asian people as a stereotypical store owners or the antagonists. I'm actually putting them in the opposite side. And so what's the connection that's not happening here?
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, Eli's Liquor Store then becomes the opener for the Martin Luther King Symposium 2009 at the Smithsonian, which is like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe that honor.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of led me to continue to push this envelope of like, you know what, I need to make stories where our two communities come together.
Yeah.
But in my body of work, you'll see I generally tend to cast a lot of African American characters in roles that they typically are not seen. And I think this just is a culmination in leading toward how I met Leon through Pastor Jim Jung. God bless him for putting us together, where he brought this story of Indifferent to me, which is resonating so much with what I've been trying to do.
Right.
And it was incredible that when we started talking and started just sharing our minds and our sort of creative input in terms of what we want to see happen on screen, it became very symbiotic that like I was meant to work with this guy.
Yeah.
And so Indifferent is kind of a next evolution step forward of what Eli's Liquor Store was just 10 years ago, I think.
Wow.
To continue that discussion.
Wow.
And so that's kind of a long-winded, concise version of my testimony of being in the industry. And in 16 years, you know, despite all the roles I've played, I've continued to want to push the envelope in addressing not only just the harmoniousness that could happen between our two communities, but trying to put it on film so that we can see it affect us. Because, let's be honest, films and TV shows, they do influence us. They do influence us.
Right.
There's a reason why commercials are still being made.
Yeah.
Because people buy the product.
You got
Right.
that
If people
right.
didn't buy the product, they wouldn't make
They
the commercial.
sure
Right.
So
would
we
not.
do know that there is power in this. And so
Yeah.
what better way than to try to continue to bring harmony and spread healing and reconciliation than making stories about these difficult topics?
Yeah, come on. I just want to say right off the bat, as a Korean man, I'm proud of you, man. And I am blessed and encouraged by what you've done over the years. And I'm feeling you, bro. I'm just feeling you. We'll talk some more at another point. Now, Pastor Leon, I mean, you are a pastor. Tell us a little bit how you got into acting.
Yeah. We were talking a little bit about that on the way up here, and my wife and I are still a little bit surprised about how it all happened. But as Arnold mentioned, Pastor Jim Jung, who's a missionary in Australia, had come back to the States for a little while, LA in particular, and he said, "Hey, Leon, I got this guy that I want you to meet. He's got the same kind of cultural dynamics you have. He has the same desires you have to see Korean Americans and African Americans come together, particularly in the church.
Yeah.
You know, we might work together.
Yeah.
Our kids could possibly go to school together.
Right.
But I rarely see African Americans and Korean Americans come together in the name of Jesus Christ and worship the risen Lord on a Sunday and then spend the week together. It's funny, he was over at my house recently, and he was upstairs with my kids and one of his sons, and they're just all playing and jumping on the bed, and I'm like, see, this is what I want it to be for my kids and his kids. Normative.
Yeah.
To look out and see a Korean American. Normative to see just the mix of our lives together. So Pastor Jim Jung comes back to the U.S. and he says, "Hey, I got this guy Arnold I want you to meet. He's in the industry." And I thought, okay. And he said, but he also wants to see Asian Americans and African Americans come together in the church setting.
Yeah.
And I said, great. So we met at this barbecue joint off of, I think, Fairfax.
Bledsoe's.
There you go. And we meet, we talk. And this guy says, never listen to one of my sermons, but he says to me, he says, "Hey, it might help your public speaking to take an acting class." And I'm like, is this dude trying to insult me? And so I'm like, I'm going to give this dude the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Don't try to make excuses. And so I said, well, where do I go? And he sends me to this guy, Sal Romeo, which is in Burbank, just north of L.A. And so I meet up with him first.
Sal Romeo,
excuse me. And I end up taking his beginner scene study class, and in a class like that, basically you're doing scenes, and you have your scene partner, you're just kind of memorizing lines, and he's giving his criticism and things like that. But on the first day, he has you bring a monologue. So I brought a monologue, I did it in front of the class, I asked him, what do you think? He gives me his input, and he asked me the question, he said, "Will I see you next week?" This was in February. I said, "Sure." So between my first class and that second class, which was again a week later, I got bit. I'm like, what is this acting thing? I think I like it.
Yeah.
And so go to the second class, bring another monologue. He gives me his criticism. I asked to speak with him after class, and he says, "Sure." And I said, "Look, Sal, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I surely don't want to waste my money because it's cost.
Yeah.
Do I have any talent to make it in the industry?" And he says, "Absolutely. It's what I wanted to talk to you about."
Oh, wow.
Next thing you know, he bumps me up to his advanced scene study class, and he starts sending me over to all these different classes so I can get stuff that he doesn't teach in his class.
Right.
I'm talking to this guy. He's taking me step by step. "Hey, you got to get your headshots. You got to do this. You got to do that."
Oh, my
Next
God.
thing you know, I'm auditioning. I'm booking stuff, and it went just like that. And he's known for saying stuff like to me, and actually to my wife recently, he said, I've never seen anybody's acting career take off so quickly.
Seriously.
So
See,
I follow you on social media, and I have friends who are trying to get into the industry. But man, I follow you on social media. I'm like, man, you got a gig like every other day. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? That's amazing. That's the hand
See,
of
this is
God.
the part I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want your head to get big.
Look.
I have an eye for talent.
Right,
There's somebody in Eli's liquor store that is now on Pitch Perfect that I've worked with twice,
wow.
Hana Lee, who's now an A-list star.
Wow.
So that is credited to me as far as I involved because I saw that. So I saw something in you, not your preaching.
I
As far
got
as like, you could possibly have the ability to transcend to something else. Who knows?
Wow.
You know, I have a track record. I do have a track record. That's my job as a director is to build stars.
I got you.
There you
I'll
go.
take it. I received that.
There you go. There you go. Man, I mean, thank you so much for being a part of the show, you guys. I mean, even just hearing what you guys are sharing, it resonates in my heart. You know, I get asked a lot, you know, what am I doing in the gospel music industry? You know, actually, we just played Brian Courtney Wilson. He's the first person to interview me during my interview. Said, Walter, how'd you get into gospel radio? You know, you're kind of a light-skinned brother. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And, but, you know, my story just resonates. I mean, I was born in New York, you know what I'm saying? And I grew up in LA. And you just always have friends that are all ethnicities, you know what I'm saying? And my parents owned a store in New York. You know, things went down. I had a gun held to my head several times by the age of 5, you know? But most of my friends were African American or Puerto Rican, you know what I'm saying, in New York. And growing up in LA, you got to have friends from other ethnicities, you know? So you're just so used to it. And then, I don't know, the gospel music community has just embraced me and shows nothing but love.
He's nothing
I'm telling
but
you,
love.
you know, now,
He's easy to love.
well, thank you, praise God. I don't know, you were saying about your movie, you know what I'm saying? I got so embraced in the gospel music community, mad love, but I'm just gonna leave it as.
Well, so I don't know what he's willing to say about a feature film he's doing.
No, I will say because I think this is literally by divine intervention here. God, it's uncanny that you said that because the film that I'm working on as a feature, we're here to talk about indifferent, but I'll plug this in. It's called Secret Song. And this was brought to me by a producer. It's in its 4th draft. We just got it back, and we're moving into tightening up the script so that we can start going out to production companies to get it co-financed and co-produced. It's the story of a Korean-American family that finds redemption and forgiveness through black gospel music. It's based on a real event. And in 2014 or maybe 2012, a group of singers from Korea called the Heritage Mass Choir, you can look them up on Facebook, they came to Harlem to do a tour at specifically black churches to boast and display and encourage and build bridges of their ability to sing gospel music. They're well known in Korea. And this documentary that was made from it tells that journey of them coming into Harlem. And this one particular choir director that they meet, Dr. Rita Harding, she took them, she's one of the churches that they meet, but she right off the bat doesn't go to just accept them. She actually instructs them not only about gospel music, but the history behind it, where it comes from, the power behind it, the Negro spirituals, the legacy of slavery, and the way that it was used. And that's the one component that you can see in the documentary these Koreans did not know. And they did not come in with an attitude of we're the best singers, although they are very, very talented, because if you listen to them, you would not think, if you didn't see their faces, you would not think they were Korean. They are spectacular. But there is a part of that history that was missing. And when you see them learn that and absorb it and digest it and be transformed by that, their music only becomes more incredibly powerful. And it's not even just themselves. The bonds that are being built in this documentary, you see them hugging the African American congregation people. That to me just gave chills down my spine as far as like, this is what's going to happen with this film. It is going to bring us together. Because there's an interesting thing when you look at it, China, Japan, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, whatever it is, it's interesting when it comes to gospel music, it is exploding in South Korea. Why? Why not Japan? Why not China? Why not Thailand? Why not Vietnam? Why not Indonesia? Why not all of these other places? There's some reason why. I'm not saying the Koreans are special, but something there culturally that they're drawn to the power of this music. And it's transforming them. And so for them, they wanted to come and find the roots of it, or at least find the people that know more about it,
Right.
and then when they learn the history, it just floors them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that is this movie is going to do, is not only showcase gospel music transforming people, but it's going to talk about the history.
That's a
Wow.
part
Where
of
it comes
part
from.
of
Wow.
it.
And power
You're,
behind
and you're,
I'll be directing it. I'm
You'll be
producing and directing it with a group of producers in the team.
wow.
And
Wow.
we,
And this,
um,
is this going to be a full-length
A
feature?
full-length feature.
Wow.
Yeah, we've
wow.
already had really great interest from Viola Davis's company. God bless Kalen Hunt over there if he's listening or even checks in on this. Like, I'm going to get back to you, kid, with the script. He's the VP of feature films over there.
Wow.
And we wanted to hopefully get Viola to play the character.
Wow.
The main choir director.
Wow.
Do you
Octavia
really,
Spencer.
really want her?
Yes, I really
Okay,
do.
I'm gonna pray.
I really do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Well,
pray that you
Either
get
way,
her.
if we get her company to co-produce,
Yeah.
executive produce, whatever it is, their involvement, I think will carry this thing so
Yes,
much further.
Lord.
Yeah.
It's a story that nobody's really heard.
Right.
Right.
Nobody even believes.
Right.
And then when they show them the documentary, they're like, "There's power here."
Yeah.
There's power
Absolutely.
here.
Amen. Amen.
Absolutely. Is there going to be a soundtrack? I'm sorry. I'm always
Well,
thinking musical.
no. So this again, I look at this as all of the things that God is putting in place because it's not my story first and foremost.
Yeah.
I did not come up with this story.
Right.
I did not design the story. It came to me of all people, Rory Rooney, my producer,
Uh-huh.
an Irishman who now lives here in the U.S.
Uh-huh.
from the U.K. He saw this documentary and he came to me as I was looking for some content to develop and produce as a feature to direct. He said, "You got to take a look at this. This is amazing. I think there's a story behind this."
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "How did you, Mr. Irishman, ever like come across this? Like, he's not even a believer, really. I mean, I just did not put it in my mind to think that he would like this.
Right.
And he brought it to me, so that's how I know it came from the Lord.
Right.
And funny enough, he is connected to a gentleman by the name of oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name right now. He produced Michael Jackson. He produced Herbie Hancock. He's really good friends with really big gospel singer. I'm mind blanking right now. Not Donnie McClurkin, the other guy.
Kirk Franklin?
Yes, Kirk Franklin.
Okay.
He and Kirk Franklin are really great friends, and he calls up Kirk Franklin as we're
Right
pitching
there.
him the story, saying,
Wow.
"You're gonna want to get onto this because I want to do the music for this."
Wow.
So that's just another thing
Wow,
that
exclusive.
kind of added to just the fire of the progression of this. Anyway,
Yeah.
but so that's in the works at the moment.
Wow.
But, right now we're here to talk about Indifferent.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Look,
Let's.
he's
Let's.
all like, yeah.
Yo, I got chills.
Yeah.
I got chills.
Yeah.
I got chills.
Amen.
Yeah, okay, let's get at it. Let's talk about Indifferent. I mean, Pastor Leon hit me up, and I am going to support it, by the way. It's coming, it's
Greg
coming.
Fillinganes. His name is Greg Fillinganes.
Okay.
He's
Great.
from Detroit. He's a Motown guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a music producer, supervisor.
Oh, really? For Motown Gospel?
I don't know that, but he's definitely produced Herbie Hancock.
Yeah,
Oh,
he's been
okay.
around for a
He's
long
been-
time.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
been around for a long
okay.
time, and he's very good friends with Kirk Franklin.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
Man.
you guys promised me another interview when that drops.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
of course,
That
definitely,
drops.
definitely.
Let's talk about Indifferent. Let's talk about Indifferent. This is the latest project. Pastor Leon hit me up talking about this project, and it was so much on his heart. Let's talk about how this came to be and what it's all about.
Well, it's pretty much Pastor Leon's vision. He and I have been talking about working together like we had just talked about as far as director and actor. And he's been really supporting me to try to be a working director. And so he came up with this concept about brokenness and reconciliation within Korean Americans and African Americans because we've been talking about it so much, so we put it in narrative form.
Yeah.
So it starts out with the story of two children playing at a park, one black, one Korean, and their camaraderie and their connection comes over Pokemon toys. It's a very simple nostalgic throwback to how children relate and interact. It's not by the face of the color of the skin. It's
Right.
literally like, you like Star Wars? I like Star Wars. Let's be best friends. Let's
Yeah.
play. And in the story, as the sun is setting, they're going to walk back home. And the Korean girl asks him to come inside to have a drink. Like, my mom makes Tang. You like Tang? Because it's set in like 1993,
Yeah.
like a little bit after the riots. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd love to have some Tang.
Right.
But unfortunately, Jiyeon's dad doesn't want him to come in. And there's a little bit of backstory there where it throws back to Jiyeon's dad's family has unfortunately suffered the consequences of the LA riots. And so one of their family members lost everything. And that's kind of just like a brief backstory. But
Yeah.
that experience ultimately leads him to a prejudice where he doesn't want anybody representing the African American community to be around and involved in his life and his family
Yeah.
member, any facet of his neighborhood.
Right.
And Byron, the name of the character, unfortunately gets the door slammed in his face.
Mm.
And that leaves Byron with an incredible traumatic experience.
Yeah.
I mean, as a 7-year-old kid, having something like that as far as a rejection goes is not just some, easy thing to throw off.
Mhm.
It really resonated and sat with him for the rest of his life.
Mhm.
And so Byron goes back home and he talks with his parents, and he can't understand what happened because he's not able to. And his parents are trying to do the best they can to not
That's right.
instill the same negative feelings of hate that has arisen from what had happened between the two communities, but trying to give Byron an understanding of how to deal with that. But unfortunately, the damage is already done by
Right.
Chin's dad. So we flash forward 30 years, and now Byron is a working professional in the entertainment industry as a head animator for the Pokemon movie of all things, because obviously that's what his passion was as
Right.
a kid. And they're going to go out to a wrap party and celebrate the opening of the film. It's all completed. And at a karaoke bar, Byron, 30-something with his friends, go into the karaoke bar, and they're having a great time, and they notice the crowd is lively and wild, and everybody's singing. His coworker magically
He
signs
keeps
him
pointing
up.
to me because I'm playing the...
Yeah,
Okay.
Leon's playing the lead. His coworker magically signs up his name to sing at the DJ booth, a song. And when he's up there and performing, he's got moves, he's got flashy... He's got a flashy cadence and charisma, but he can't sing. He's like horrible. He tries to build it up.
You looked at me on that one.
And, yeah. And so in the crowd, there's this group of girls that are also celebrating too. And, everybody's festive and having a great time. This girl out of nowhere decides to come up because they find a connection just in his complete display of embarrassment and humiliation and just trying to go with the flow. She jumps on stage and starts singing with him and dancing with him. And they're both now a duo of embarrassment. Where people are like trying to boo them off and throwing, whatever they have in their hand at them, and so they rush out. But that connection was instant because of the way that they sang and the way that they just really didn't care about their surroundings and really just found a connection and an energy between each other. And outside, they have a recap, like, did that just happen? What's going on? I can't believe this. And as they share their stories, they realize they're both artists. And so in the film, to insinuate the progression of their relationship, we have a very stylized sort of animated sequence where we see them as kind of like stick figures or animated characters going in various different phases of a relationship.
And she's Korean.
And she's Korean,
Okay.
yes. That's and so the pairing of them leads to naturally a bedroom setting where they finally have a chance to decompress post-coital, and the topic comes up about their families. And this is something that probably they have maybe brushed on in the past. We're not for certainly going to elaborate on that per se because the film is only going to be about 14 minutes. But the purpose was to actually talk about that particular subject matter in this setting where Byron's parents his father is suffering from a medical condition, and as he rings him on the phone to check in, the natural question from Buon is like, so how is everything going? Is everything okay? And Byron says, yeah, everything's fine. And then the question comes after a few moments is, how are your parents doing, Buon? And so that naturally leads into the progression of that there's something there that Buon hasn't been truthful about, is that she maybe either hasn't talked about this relationship being with a black man to her parents out of fear of what they might say or what they might criticize, or it's that she has another reason. And so the film, in that sense, in the bedroom scene, goes to talk about something very powerful, which is the relationship between African Americans and Korean Americans. But more specifically, it's not throwing any dialogue or anecdote back to the riots. It's more about their identities and their understanding of their culture and their own prejudices that they have. And so ultimately, the argument and discussion becomes an exposure of their own brokenness and how they realize that they're both imperfect, and that what they're trying to do on the surface in terms of romance and love has to go further than just the physical attraction or their intellectual understanding of what each other are. It has to be an actual more than deeply breaking bread. It has to go to an exposure of admitting the prejudices that they have and finding out a way to overcome that so that they can heal. And a lot of the things that Buon brings up is a justification of saying, like, you don't understand what my parents have been through. You think that we are privileged and that we're the model minority, but that's just a nomenclature given to us by America. We didn't make up that term. But her justification doesn't seem to satisfy Byron. Byron's not looking for that answer. He's looking for the deeper question is like, why don't you tell your parents about us? What is the reason? it's as simple as black and white. Like, why can't you tell them? And she goes on to try to defend herself, and that just irritates Byron more. Why? Because he's actually not trying to stand up and defend the black community. He's trying to resolve the hurt that he had from 30 years ago when he was a child. It's not actually about the color of his skin. It's the fact that why can't she be as vulnerable as he is? And so that's what the scene at the end is kind of trying to do, is really talk about that and expose them in a raw sense so that they can start fresh and realizing, if we're going to go forward and actually be something positive to not only each other, but our communities, and as people in love and wanting to be married, we have to figure out a way to deal with our baggage.
Wow. That's deep.
That's super deep.
That's deep.
Jesus.
Wow. And what stage are you guys in terms of, I think there's a couple rewrites going on, but what stage are you guys at in terms of this movie right here?
We're pretty much ready to go. I've got our cast list pretty much finalized. We have our location list finalized. We've got the crew pretty much assembled as far as ready to go.
Yeah.
We just need to get some cash.
That's
Right.
That's
You know, we just need to get some funding to get this rolling.
Right.
And a film of this nature does not come across as cheap.
Right.
In order to make quality and do something at a level that rivals the studio, it costs money because of the technicians you have to hire, the locations that we have to hire, the food that we have to provide, the audio equipment that we need, all of the basic things that come into the wardrobe, the makeup, all of those things.
Of course, Pastor
mastering,
Leon's
the editing.
expensive too. So.
Oh yeah, you know, he asked me for
I'm
a
just
triple
playing.
banger. He asked me for a triple banger trailer. I'm like, you ain't even a guest star recurring yet. Like, you asking for what?
I'm just playing, y'all. So, what are you guys doing in terms of fundraising for this event, or coming? I should say not fundraising, but getting financial support for this movie.
So, like a lot of people, we've been using the social platforms like Indiegogo, Kickstarter, FundMe. We tried those different things, but Indiegogo, I think, is the one we're now
That's right.
sticking with.
Okay.
And on top of that, it's reaching out to personal friends and family, and even people in our network to look at that Indiegogo campaign, because we have a testimonial video about the purpose and the mission of the film. And with that, I mean, like any other cold calling job, it takes repetition and time and continuing to press people to realize that, you know, these things, be it what they are, they don't get made by just sitting around and, you know, being on the sideline. I mean, everybody's a consumer of entertainment. We all want to watch our shows, but to support it is on another level, and to understand what it takes to go into it, it is not easy. I mean, we look at the Avengers, or we look at any of those blockbuster films. Those films are made for in excess of $100 million to $120 million budgets. To do the small things, they require ranges between $30,000 to $50,000, and let's be honest, being in California, the cost of living, we can't pay technicians $100 a day. They can't live on that. There's no motivation or incentive to want to come and work on these things, even though they're humanitarian or goodwill in nature or have an impact to do some social justice. It takes people really coming out and believing in this mission and knowing that if we're going to make change, we have to put our money where our mouth is. And it's hard. It's difficult. I know, like most people, you spend in a month, you know, on your Starbucks coffee or your coffee bean or going out to eat in excess of $100, $200, $300 without even thinking about it. But to go and put that same money into film, a lot of people are more hesitant. And that's the thing that we're trying to overcome, is to convince people that you're not throwing money away. You're investing in something that is going to change people's lives around the world, not just domestically here in California. You have to understand, when it goes online or it goes on any platform, the entire world is consuming it. I did a film in 2016 called Fractured. It's inspired by what happened in the 2007 Virginia Tech shooting of the family of Sung Cho. And it was an introspect to look at. It was an introspect to look at the problem of mental health in the Asian American community.
Come on.
It is another film that went on to many, many, many different festivals and created a platform to talk about mental health. And by and large, the setting in Virginia, the governor of Virginia at the time did an independent study to look at that whole case, because people were perplexed, like, this kid, where did he come from? How could he just get out there and he shot up 33 people instead, including himself? Like, what was the motivation behind it? There was no track record, no history. And if you look at the independent study, you find out that there is, from the family's point of view, that the family had known about the fact that there was something wrong with their kid, but out of the stigma of not wanting to talk to a medical professional because they might be outcast or exploited or shamed in the community, they didn't want to share it. They didn't want to talk about it. On top of the fact that if you disclose any medical record on your college application, it might disbar them from being accepted. And so rather than talking about it, they chose to basically hide it under the rug. In fact, their church members encourage them, just pray and it'll go away. There's nothing wrong. But we know that if there is a chemical imbalance in your mind, your physical body, you need both.
Yes.
I believe in the power of prayer. I believe in God's miracle.
Yeah.
God is sovereign, almighty, all-powerful, omniscient, omnipresent. But we do need to take in that God also created medicine
Yeah.
for us to use.
Yeah.
And that film was a testament to talk about the family and what they went through, and to hopefully build an encouragement and an awareness to talk about mental health.
Yeah.
That you don't have to look at this as something that is marking your family name, that it's shameful, that it's something that totally excommunicates you from a community.
Right.
You got to talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's what that film was made for. And by the grace of God, we met somebody named Cecilia Choi, who, out of her own personal finances, literally within like a couple weeks before shooting, actually I think it was like 8 days before shooting, gave us a check for $25,000 to make the movie.
Wow. Wow.
And that's the
Wow.
kind of good-willed, faith-based nature that we need to have when
Yeah,
it comes to
that's
these
right.
kinds of things, because it goes and transcends
Right.
more than just our basic little community here.
Wow.
So many people have reached out to me about that film, especially in New York, of all places.
Mm.
Man, New York loves that film. I've had so many places where it's filmed at. I'm screened at in New York in festivals, and it continues to be a film that's talked about because of what it showed. You hardly ever see Asian Americans in that setting,
Yeah.
where it
Well, I've seen that setting in the church, but anyways,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah,
a separate
yeah.
story. That's a separate story. But anyways,
Yeah,
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. But tell us about how to support indifferent.
There it is right there. 'Cause
Yeah.
we just had some people asking questions online about that.
Well, I mean, the Indiegogo link, I mean, there's a direct
Yeah.
way to contribute and donate to the film in that way, and know that all the proceeds are not going to our personal, well, maybe,
See what he did there?
it's going to pay all of the, we're
Yeah,
doing
they
this
just were
nonprofit.
asking
None,
about
none of
that.
us are taking any pay for it. It's
Right.
going
Yeah.
to pay all the people that are going to make it.
And that's the thing that I want to make clear as well, because I think one of the things that comes up, especially if you're unfamiliar with the entertainment industry, there seems to be this notion that, if you're an actor or a producer or director, you're somehow involved in production, you necessarily are making a lot of money.
Right.
We purposefully have made everyone take minimum pay so that this film can be made. So this isn't
Right.
something that's gonna make us go get the Range Rover that I want.
Right.
This is not gonna happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm pray for that. So this
I'm not
isn't.
gonna pray for that.
He's selfish. He's selfish.
No, because that has a big carbon footprint, and I believe that's
Look.
Amen.
Put your hand out.
I drive an
Amen.
electric.
Look,
I
he
drive
be in
an
church with
electric.
his hands in
I
his
don't
pockets.
burn gas.
Amen.
I don't burn gas. I drive an electric. I'm clean.
Wow.
I'm green.
Like
Wow, we could do
volleyball.
another show on that
Solar
one.
powered electricity, mind
You
you.
got a mute
Solar
button?
powered electricity. God made the sun, so God's giving you
Here we
free
go.
electricity. Thank you.
See, you give him a hobby horse. He's done. But yes, the website is igg.me/et/indifferent/x and then the number sign of the pound sign. I know that's a lot.
Yeah. Can you say that one more time?
Sure.
Let's see, and I'll put it in the feed.
HTTPS colon / igg.me/AT/indifferent. That's INDIFFERENT/X /. And if that doesn't work for whatever reason, if you just go to Indiegogo and then put in indifferent, it should pop up. If that doesn't work for whatever reason, go to my Facebook profile, Leon M. Brown, and there should be a link where you can click there. But just two quick things, though. One, I thank both of you for having us on, because this
Of
has
course.
been a source of joy for us to talk about seeing our communities come together. Because as I was saying earlier, if we're honest, we can go to a church that says it wants to have fulfillment of the Great Commission, that disciples of the nations would be made, but we know, as Martin Luther King said some 60 years or so ago, 11 o'clock on Sunday morning is the most segregated hour.
Right.
And so we began to see a little bit of the push with the white community and the Asian community. We begin to see a little bit of the push with maybe the black community and the white community. We'll see community efforts done together. We'll even see a little sprinkle of these different groups in a church on a Sunday. But again, when it comes to these groups, we don't see it. So while Indifferent is not a Christian movie per se, it is still going to open up the chasm of discussion, especially for Christians, to say, okay, maybe we expect that from people who are, have different faith commitments or what have you, or people who have different prejudices, stuff like that. But in the church, if the blood of Christ was shed for people from every tribe, nation, and tongue, why are we letting these things separate us? Now, of course, in a contemporary sense, there are a lot of ways this discussion can go.
Right.
But I'm firmly committed to saying, okay, guys, let's have the discussion. Let's say enough is enough, and let's come together.
Yeah.
Let's stop being separated because, well, my musical preferences are this, or
Right.
my preference. No. So indifference kind of birthed alongside of that to say, while we're not going to necessarily have something explicitly in there about Jesus Christ, what we are going to say is, as people who are made in the image according to the likeness of God, we should be spending time together. And a part of that discussion is we got to have the difficult conversation. We have to.
Yeah.
And so as my brother and I have been growing in our relationship with each other, we have those conversations too. We have them, as we call it in the industry, on the nose. We just say, here are the issues, let's deal with them. So indifferent is a way to use this media platform to say, guys, here's the issue.
Yeah.
We can't keep turning our back. So there's a reason. So we, and this is kind of a quick aside, in planting a church, Lord willing, in LA, Montage Church.LA, we're in the process of gathering.
Yeah.
My wife and I, my wife's Filipino, actually, again, my wife, we rented a house on the edge of Koreatown for the very purpose of ensuring that we would have interactions with Korean Americans.
Right.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping this video will be just a platform for discussion, coming off the tail end of Eli's liquor store to say, guys, come on.
Yeah.
The frustrating part has been the fundraising.
Yeah.
What I've learned is some Christians are willing to send our church planting efforts a check. Oh man, that's great. We'll write you a check for this much, man. Go plant that church. I flip it now and say, hey, here's another platform where we can talk about the image of God.
Yes, Lord.
We can talk about people coming together. It's not a church plant, but it's nevertheless done by two Christians. The lead is a Christian. The director is a Christian. People say, I hear people say all the time, exactly, it's still ministry. People say, man, we just need more Christians in Hollywood. And we're like, well, here we are. They say, well, why are you in Hollywood? It's like, wait, you can't have it both ways.
Right.
Yeah.
And
the
so,
impact is needed.
yeah, so we're trying to put this film out. We need the funds, because if the funds aren't there, the film doesn't get made.
Yeah.
And as I was saying earlier, everyone's getting paid just a fraction.
Yeah.
What people are getting paid to do this, they cannot survive on in LA.
Right.
Because this isn't about the money.
Right.
This is the cheapest we can go, roughly $30,000. So I hope for all you listeners, you will get on Indiegogo. You will support this so we can get this thing done. For the
Actually,
glory of
Pastor
God.
Leon, can you text me that
absolutely.
site, and we're gonna connect it to this right here as well.
It's funny. I pull up my my internet to you know what's on. I'm gonna tell him this guy. So he's like, what we gonna do on the drive back to LA? I said, what? He puts on Milli Vanilli. Girl, you know it's true. And he said, we gonna lip sync this and put this online. So I didn't know all the lyrics, so I had to pull that joint up.
So y'all really gonna do it, huh?
If Rob and Fab can lip sync that, then
Come
we
on,
can
I
top
know
lip
that's
syncers,
right. I know that's right.
What better way to top lip syncers than to lip sync it?
Wow. Wow. Well, man, I'm going to keep you guys in prayer. I'm going to push y'all, and please let me know if I could help out in any way. Pastor Leon, man, I commend you, because I know you're going to get a lot of pushback, you know what I'm saying? So you are on my prayers. And Arnold, man, you're on my prayers, and I'm just so proud of you, because I know how hard it is, because I say this constantly, Asians are always, if we get a role, it's always typecasted. If we get a role, you know what I'm saying? And if we get a role, it's it's just typecasting.
Let me talk about that for just a second.
Yeah.
I mean, Crazy Rich Asians has done an incredible way of exploding the demand for Asian-based content.
Right.
Now, Asian is such a very broad word to categorize us. I mean, because of all the different languages and the cultures that come together in that. And now, especially Asian American.
Right.
And Hollywood empathetically looks at that in a monetizing way, and that there's money to be made because it's such a new genre,
Right.
or such a new area to tap into for storytelling.
Right.
And there is an influx of so many new people around the world that are now attracted to, like, now's my time to break into Hollywood or break into entertainment, which is great. You want diversity from all sides of the world to come in from the Asian continent to represent the stories.
Yeah.
However, the writing is the problem.
Yeah.
Is that the writers are still few far in between representing our community.
Right.
You have, unfortunately, Caucasian writers in the majority representing and making those stories, and unless they grew up with us,
Yeah.
And
it's
us.
very, and
See,
y'all,
he go back to his old
it's
ways.
very it's difficult to capture that authenticity.
Yeah.
Now they are making very, very good progress in trying to solicit and include more and more people of color to write those stories from all different communities.
Yeah.
However, there's not enough of them
Right.
because we're not, like, going back to that, we're not encouraged to pursue that.
Right.
And that is directly related to the way fundraising is done in that sense. Is if you don't value the arts, you're not going to put the money into that. And it's uncanny, and I think that tags along to what you're saying, Pastor Leon, is that all of the resources that we've been giving is to be a blessing to other people and other facets of in this world, that it's not ours.
Right.
And I think that that's something, hopefully, that will resonate with people listening out there, is that arts are commissioned by the Lord.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know,
I mean,
if I could commend one thing, and hopefully I'm not getting in trouble for saying this, but thank you for being a Korean male acting. Well, and I'm saying this because even a Korean male in a movie is probably not fully Korean. I'm just gonna leave it as that. I'm just gonna leave it as that. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna leave. I've said this many times, but for me, yo, I'm proud of you, brother. I really am. I'm not sure if you get that, but I mean, I'm sure you get it a lot. But I'm just proud of you. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm really super excited for this project. You know, it resonates in my heart. It needs to be done, as you were saying. And yeah, I mean, I can't believe it hasn't been done already. You know what I'm saying? And I'm so happy that Christians, we should be in the forefront of this.
Amen.
No doubt.
we should.
Amen.
We should.
Absolutely.
If anybody wants to watch Eli's Liquor Store, and this is a testament to how I'm doing things for nonprofit, it's on the internet for free. You can look it up. You can type in Eli's Liquor Store, and you can click it and watch it for free.
Is there a
It's
certain
worth
website that you want us to?
No, you can just Google it. It'll come.
Okay.
It'll be because it's been viewed over 60,000 times.
Uh-huh.
It's like one of the first things that comes up because it's the only title like that out there as well.
Yes.
Okay.
So just straight up Eli's Liquor Store.
Okay,
And you
cool.
can find it and you can watch it for free.
Do you guys have a timetable for Indifferent?
We are. I mean, like I said, we are ready to go. So
Yes.
I mean, if we were able to get the funding tomorrow, or even by the end of next week, we can be in production in the next 15 days easily.
Wow.
And that's our desire.
It's not a long shoot. It's really going to only take 4 days to do
Okay.
it.
Wow.
And so that, but 4 days of intense working.
Yeah.
And then the cutting period will probably be about a month in the edit booth and all that, and color correction and the music and the scoring and all the different components. Like, that is the most rigorous part. The shooting part of it is actually easy. When you actually have to master everything together
Yeah.
with an editor and a technician and all the Foley and the sounds, because when you shoot outdoors in locations, you don't get perfect sound, as you know. That's
Right.
why microphones are used. But even with microphones,
That's right.
all
Yeah.
the outdoor
Everything.
elements affect it. So that all has to go through its own filtering and
That's
mastering
right.
process, and that can take a while.
Right.
So from start to finish, I mean, even with Fractured, it took us 2.5 months to actually finish the project for 14 minutes of content.
Wow.
Even though the shooting days were only 3,
Wow.
That,
3
that
days of
was the
shooting,
question.
but 2.5 months to make it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
What a-
only 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the piece is meant to be released in festivals, because
Gotcha.
that's allows us to get a very broad appeal, and as well as the internet, any of the other platforms, whether it's Amazon or YouTube. 15 minutes seems to be the mark for short content where we can at least keep you and hold your attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hopefully they
I
won't
wanna
get sick of
say-
looking his face.
Yeah, this here is glory.
Just because you made in the image of God doesn't
Look,
mean
this here, fearfully and wonderfully
you know,
made.
you could be made in the image of God but not be
Come on.
attractive.
Fearfully.
Look at me. Look at
wonderfully
me.
made.
I'm the example.
Look, no, just one other thing too.
I'm just kidding.
That when you had asked about how I got into acting, one of the blessings that I've had is, you know, we planted our first church in Richmond, Virginia, and being in the Bible Belt, being in the South, there's this culture, there's this atmosphere that I know about that Jesus character. I don't need him. Or yeah, I'm a Christian because I went to church when I was 3, but I haven't been in 45 years, kind of thing.
Wow.
So there's this thickness, as it were, of some type of Bible knowledge. And so I ran up against a lot of just hardness when I would be walking the community trying to talk to folks about Jesus. I moved to LA, have no desire to get into the entertainment industry. This happens, I'm in it. And one thing that I've discovered is Hollywood is one of the most spiritual places I've ever been.
Amazing.
People are searching for a savior.
Yeah.
It's
That's
embedded
what
in
makes
every
it
single film. It's embedded in every single television show. There is tension, and a savior comes and rescues those people from tension.
Right.
And so when I come along and say, hey, I actually know the savior personally, and you can too, people are hungry to hear more.
Yes.
I have
Ooh, that's
yet
deep
to
that
be
you said that.
rejected
Wow.
about sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ with
Wow.
people in the entertainment industry. They go out to eat with me to hear about it. They'll meet at my house to hear about it. They'll go to
Wow.
the coffee shop to hear about it.
Wow.
And what's been great about it is the Lord has made 1 Corinthians chapter 9, 18 through 23 come alive to me when Paul wrote, I have become all things to all people so that some might be saved. I do it for the sake of the gospel.
Yeah.
God has me here because I have become like them so that I might give the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because at the end of the day, that's all I got.
Yeah.
This we can do this movie Indifferent together, and it blow up, and we get all these different radio interviews, and I get my Range Rover,
But
all
remember
that
who's the
stuff.
first.
Oh yeah, that's right. we got you.
No, you're getting a Tesla
Yeah.
Model X. You're getting a Range Rover.
But at the end of the day, all we have is Jesus.
Yeah.
That's it. And
Yeah.
it has been amazing to be able to be in this industry and see people so hungry. It's not,
Yes.
last thing I'll say, it's not as, what's the word, violent as some people might think. It's not as antithetical to the idea of God as some might be. People are hungry.
Yeah.
And we need to be in this industry so that we can give the answer.
That's one of the things I was going to say off the air, but I'll say it right now. I believe God sovereignly put you in Hollywood because you are such an evangelist.
Amen.
I mean, you are truly the embodiment of not being ashamed of the gospel. I've seen that over just even through social media and things of that nature. So I really believe God put you in Hollywood.
Amen.
Because you're not ashamed of the gospel. You will share that gospel and you'll do it in a compassionate, passionate way as well. And I know it'll come off through your work as well. So, I mean, man, I'm so excited for y'all. I'm so excited for it. I know maybe the numbers aren't there right now, but it will be.
Amen.
I really believe that God's going to provide, and that's why I had to have you guys on the show.
Thank you.
You know what I'm
Thank you.
saying?
Thank you, Walter.
And yeah, thank you for coming all the way down.
Amen.
That means a whole lot to me as well. The older I get, I love LA and I have friends there, but it's hard for me to drive all right down. That traffic and gas
Oh,
and
I'm
things
sure
of
you'll be
nature.
seeing a lot more of me, for sure.
Yeah? Man.
We plan on hopefully submitting to the San Diego Asian American Film Festival.
Cool.
We'll see if they like this one. I don't have a good track record over there.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like 0 for 3.
Really?
Yeah, I've
That's-
submitted things over the years, and
That's a
they
shame.
fall where they may. But maybe this one will
Yeah.
do. Who knows?
Yeah,
Who
that's
knows?
real interesting. That's real interesting. So when it drops, how are you guys going to drop this? Is there going to be like a screening or?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the first screening will be for all the people that contributed, that we invited to a private theater that they can watch it at, and we'll celebrate it
Dope.
and have a discussion about it if it becomes to that a Q&A or
Yeah.
and we generally do those things. I did that for Fractured. People want to
Huh.
know, the genesis of it, the story behind it,
Right.
and then I think actively putting it on the internet and putting it to festivals to see,
Yeah.
because I think the power of it will be something that people can't stop talking about. Really,
Right.
Like
I
you
agree.
said, I've been doing this for 16 years. I can't think of one film or short film that has done something like this
Yeah.
in the way that we're trying to do it, which
Right.
is really attack it head on.
Right.
And I've been in a lot of things and I've read in a lot of things. I just have not seen it.
Yeah. The only, what comes to mind? I don't know why it comes to mind, but this point in this movie always stuck with me. In Do the Right Thing, there's only a moment where the owner of I'm not sure if it was a liquor store,
It's
but
played by Steve Park.
Yeah,
in
Steve
Living
Park.
Color.
Yeah.
I know him.
Yo,
Good guy.
he
Great
knows
guy.
my mom, actually. I talked to him on the phone once. Anyways, but yeah, in Living Color. And I remember, I forgot the names of the characters. It's been so long, but he was saying, you and me, we're the same. It was just such
Yep.
a,
I
it was
remember
such
that.
a
That's good.
small,
That's good.
and they were just going to, it was just moment of conflict in Do the Right Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do the Right Thing, I don't know, I just love that movie. I was born in New York, I grew up in Brownstones.
I love Spike Lee.
When I say Brooklyn, I'm saying like Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing, Brooklyn, like Brownstones and things of that nature. But anyways, but I
I
was
want to
like,
be the Korean Spike Lee in film.
oh, there you go.
Amen.
There you go.
Amen.
There
As
you
far as
go.
my occupation.
Right. Have your own studios and the whole nine. That'll be dope. That'll be dope. That's what's up. But man, thank you. We have a little bit of time. I know Evangel, she's got to go pick up her
My
grandbaby.
grandbaby.
Oh, all right.
But yeah, can we chop it up a little bit more and
Let's
we'll do
go.
the next? Yeah,
Yeah.
is that cool? Okay, cool.
They're going to be hanging around.
Yeah, Evangel.
More. I'll be tuned in while
Okay,
I'm driving.
thank you. Love you.
Thank you both, too. Thank
Hey.
you. It's a pleasure meeting you, and I'm going to try to help generate some support, too.
Definitely, thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
I definitely want to see this happen.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Evangel. No, we're gonna go straight to
Oh,
it. This is
alright.
too good. This is
Okay.
too good right here. I love this.
All righty.
I love this.
The baby
Yo.
back rib is still good?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I told Evangel, man, we have to have these guys on because your project, I feel like it just resonates, and I feel like it's too important not to support y'all. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be done in Hollywood. Man, okay, so how you guys became friends real quick? You know, so
Yeah,
how-
because he wouldn't stop calling me.
So let me. This is where the rubber meets the road. How did those the conversations that had to be had? How did it go between you guys? If I can ask that.
Well, I think it first started with me showing my body of work to him, and he quickly noticed like you use a lot of black people in your movies, and I think that probably caught him off guard because of the background that he's experienced and seeing as far as content goes.
Right.
I've never seen somebody do this. That's Korean American, first of all.
Right.
I think so. That became just the first way that we started talking about this connection or this lack of connection or whatever it is. And so,
Right.
between my own backstory and my own history and his own backstory and his own history, I think that created a lot of great places to talk about what's needed to be done further.
Yeah.
And whether that goes into the church that I'm involved with and looking at the congregation there were a lot of things that I had to sit back and think about in my own way of like, wow, am I following this comfort model of American Christianity where I'm in a congregation where literally it is reflective of what he was talking about, which is it seems that only two people groups are congregating and it's not black and Asian. And then thinking about my film, I was like, wait a minute, I'm trying to not do that in my film, but yet I'm participating in a place where it is resonating that. And so I had to really think deeply about that. And mind you, I was still in the middle of already developing Secret Song, which is supposed to be about this.
Right.
And I think that was something that I really had to swallow, with a grain of salt and just really wrestle with in my mind of like, okay. And because he had really reached out to me of being part of Montage.
Right.
And although on the surface I felt like, yeah, I believe in that vision. I believe, do I really believe in the vision? Do I really have the fortitude and the courage to call my own self out and be like, I should be supporting that. I should be participating in that. Because he called me out with wanting to be the children's ministry director for the church. And I gave him excuses. I told him, I've got a lot on my plate, I've got other things, which I did at the time, but I think I was using that to justify, like, I don't know if I really want to get my feet wet in that. And I think that through our friendship over the last 7 months, by the grace of God, I've really had to
grace, bro.
I've had to really re-examine that, and I think that it becomes more apparent to me that when Montage is up, like I definitely have to be a part of it.
Amen.
Not just because I'm Korean American, but because if I'm going to live by the words of my mouth that I speak, that this is what I'm about, then my actions have to match that.
Right.
I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. God knows I've made many mistakes in my life.
Right.
But at least on this front, if I'm selling and producing and creating and distributing content that shows this type of theme, my life should reflect that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think too he brings up Montage, and a part of our conversation also stemmed from my experience. So when we started our first church in Richmond, Virginia, Richmond is, I don't remember the exact statistics and demographics, but let's just say probably 92% black and white. The 8% could be for Hispanic, Korean, Japanese, what have you. But in the community that we started this church, it was literally just black and white. There was a growing Hispanic population south of the church plant, but our church was roughly 50-50, black-white. And so that was great for its context. But again, I was born here. And I started to get a little antsy and a little hungry for being around more than just black and white folks. And so then when we moved back to LA to start a church, I was instantly back at home, because I'm looking around saying, wow, I don't know, what some of these people's ethnic origin is in terms of their ethnicity. I'm like, and this is what I was built for. Built to see a church like this. And so when I started thinking beyond the black-white binary, I said, what's another component that displays friction? Well, African American, Korean American, even before the '92 LA riots. And so that's been a part of our discussion too, not only in the church sense, in Montage Church starting in LA, but also with Indifferent and Secret Song and other ideas that we've had. We said, look, it's just one people group at a time. And while I know the black-white discussion is pivotal, it is needed. Black and white folks aren't the only kinds of people who have tension. So we have to expand it beyond that, especially if you are a Christian.
Absolutely.
Especially if you are a Christian.
Absolutely.
You can't go to church on a Sunday if your community is diverse. Say, I'm all about racial reconciliation. I'm all about the Great Commission. Look around. Your church looks like you. And a lot of my black pastor friends who are in all black churches get upset with me because I'm an equal opportunity to offend you. And I say, guys, you're no different. I know why the black church exists. But are we pressing our people to love all people, even in the black church? Are we pressing our people to love all people, if it's an all-Korean American church, if it's an all-Anglo church, what have you? And at the end of the day, and I travel quite a bit, I just don't see it. And so we're hoping that both Montage Church, if we can gather the people in LA, as well as this film, will begin just to press the envelope a little bit more and say, guys, enough is enough.
Wow. Man, if I was up in LA, I would be there. For real. For real. That's a dream come true. Man, that's another thing to pray for as well. Montage Church up there. How can people keep up with Montage Church?
Facebook. Just go to Facebook or montagechurch.la. You can submit your email for a news update there. And the hope is, gather maybe 10 to 12 more family units, and then we'll get Sunday services started.
There you go.
And bring down the house in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Actually, can you guys give us your handles for all your social media to keep up with? Because we just dropped a whole lot of information.
Mine's pretty simple. I think it's simple. My Twitter, although I don't use it that much, but I do find the value of using it more now. It's just my name, Arnold H. Chun. That's my Twitter handle, Arnold H. Chun, C-H-U-N. It's the same for my Instagram handle, Arnold H. Chun. And I believe Facebook is just Arnold Chun without the H, just Arnold Chun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Pastor Leon?
My IG is at Leon M. Brown, M like Mary, at Leon M. Brown. I shut down Twitter. Facebook, you can look me up there. It's just Leon Brown, or maybe even Downtown Leon Brown. It's one of the two, and I think that's the only social media I have right now, just Facebook and Instagram.
Cool. Now let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about the LA riots. So let's talk about that. I remember that vividly. I was in LA when that went down. I remember the day after, actually. I
saw you at the space station playing video games. we were hanging out there like, is this really happening? Oh my goodness.
That might be true.
Maybe we need to go down and get some free stuff. I said it because my friends are saying the same thing. I said it.
Yo, I remember vividly watching the news and all this rioting, things of that nature, the looting, but also the Koreans outside of their liquor store shooting, like it was a Western shootout. I remember that specifically. I remember going to my high school, Granada Hills High School, and my African-American friends, they said, well, if you need to go bathroom, you're taking me with me. Yeah, exactly, because a lot of stuff was going down. There was our school got vandalized as well, and like I said, my African-American friends, they were looking out for me. They were looking out for me because, like I said, there was a lot of stuff going down. I remember my mom specifically. She worked for Korean Daily News, Chungangibo, and on the way there, man, people were about to bum rush her car. She ran the red light and she just went straight back home. Yeah. I mean, it was just like a war zone. It was just crazy. You know what I'm saying?
I remember, man. I was 16, and my uncle's store unfortunately got burnt down. My father He was out at Hollytron. Remember Hollytron?
Yeah.
The big, giant electronics store, very close to where OMC was.
Yeah.
He was out there guarding that with his friends.
Really?
And I honestly didn't understand really what was happening to a certain extent because my dad didn't tell me he's going out there with guns with his friends to protect that store. He just told me he's going out to help out some friends.
Right.
And I do remember watching it on the news and all the fires and stuff, but I think because I was so removed from it in terms of going to Koreatown regularly that it didn't resonate like what was really happening. Obviously, Rodney King, clear as day, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe what the hell happened with that and the outcome with the verdict of like, are you kidding me? These 4 officers got acquitted?
Right.
And then the aftermath of that and watching it just ensue and envelop and grow into, from the flashpoint all the way up. And I do remember specifically at my school, just like Granada Hills, in the valley, again, this is one thing a lot of people I think don't understand is the diversity in the valley.
Yeah.
People look at my high school book, they open it like, did you go to school in Compton? I'm like, no, I went to school in Reseda. It's Cleveland High School. There's a lot of, 50% of my school was African American, 30% was Latino American, and the rest of us were white and Asian. In your school, obviously, we knew that's where all the hot Koreans were at. We knew like that's all the Korean hotties. That's where they were.
Yo, after school, after school, me and my boys said, "Where are these cats coming from?" And they're coming all straight to our girls.
In the valley, it's like there's almost like 60,000 Koreans at that time, and I think like 50,000 of them lived up in the Granada Hills, Northridge area. And so trust me. Anyway, VK UMC right across from Family Fun Center. That's where you find them all hanging out. In my school,
that's how we have mutual friends.
Yeah, that's how we have mutual friends, exactly. At my school, Cleveland was a humanities magnet program school, and there's a big emphasis on social politics, social justice, social economics, social demographics. I mean, we learned Nietzsche at like 16. We're like, what the heck is this guy? Like, all these different philosophers, they're pumping it into our head at 16 years old. But one experiment that they did soon after the riots had finished was they brought the entire core program, and it's basically all ethnicities, put us in an auditorium, and they made a power triangle. We didn't understand what was happening at the time. They just said they're going to run us through a mock game, and you have the ability to move in certain areas of this auditorium, but in this section you can't go, and in that section you can't go, and there's monitors, which were our teachers, blocking entrances to exit or go laterally or vertically or horizontally within the auditorium. So they mapped it out like this. They put all the white kids at the top, they put us Asian kids next, and then they put the Latin kids next, and then they put the black kids at the bottom. And what they had at the pyramid, if you can imagine, little slits like this where people could go out, but for the white section, they had the ability to go down and up.
Okay.
The Asian section only had the ability to go down. The Latin American section could only go sideways. The black section could not exit. They could only go down. They could not go up. After about 15 minutes, because they gave us no instruction, they just had us stand there, and they told us, like, if you need to go to the restroom, raise your hand. But they wanted to see the reaction of if, naturally, when you're just kids, you have so much energy. You can't stand in one place. After a while, you're going to be like, I'm just going to go chill over here. Teachers would push back. No, you're not allowed to come up here. No, you're not allowed to go down there. But some of the white kids could, and some of the Asian kids could, and freely move. And then people started noticing, wait, how come, Arnold gets to move over there, and James gets to move over there, but I can't go over there? You're not allowed to. The experiment was a power structure of America. And they wanted to show the mobility of people in America based on social economic status. And it was interesting that the black kids, my friends, what started to erupt out of them. The feeling of oppression, the feeling of injustice, this is not right. I mean, it started to escalate to the point where it got a little hostile, and the teachers had to shut it down. But the moral was to show, this is a picture of America and the power structure that exists. You may not understand it now, but I thank God for them that they were so bold enough to do that right after the riots, to make a statement in the sense that when you leave this high school and you go out into the world, remember what we were doing here to show you will come across this. And that, I think, was maybe the first seeds planted in my mind as far as like understanding like there is a glass ceiling, that it is not fair for everyone. And as Christians, we are not supposed to follow that model.
Right.
And yet we see, I don't want to make any political statements, but we see people gravitating to the current administration and saying like, yeah, segregation is good. It is okay. We see it. It's our purpose. This is what America's about. It's like, no, that's not what the gospel's about.
You know, one of the things that stands out is when I think about Luke's gospel and the arrival of Jesus, the Son of God in the flesh, one of the statements that just penetrates me every time I read it, when he says, I came for the poor. It rocks me.
Yeah.
And we ought not to spiritualize that and just say, oh, Sermon on the Mount, poor in spirit. No. That is a component of it, but he meant the economically poor as well.
Yeah.
And so when I go into churches, when I think about my first church plant, when I think about Montage, if I can look around, knowing how LA is, 40% of its community in terms of the homeless population is African American, and another 60 is Asian and white and Hispanic. And to look around and not see that in our midst when Jesus was very particular. Jesus does not waste his words. God does not waste his words.
Amen.
Yeah.
And to think that there are none,
Right.
it's our problem.
Yeah.
It is not anybody else's problem. And so I just highlight that on the tail end of thinking about the LA riots. My mother I grew up in a single parent household. The short version of my life is I just met my father 6 years ago. I was a crack baby. I watched my mother, my grandmother, my aunt smoke crack.
Wow.
My mother left me when I was 15. I've been on my own ever since.
Wow.
And so when I think of LA as my home, and I think about all that comes with LA, the entertainment industry, sitting, multi-millionaires sitting right next to people who are living in tents.
Come on.
The gospel and the Church of Jesus Christ as the hands and feet of Jesus, as they say, or just put differently to use Jesus' words in Matthew 22, loving our neighbor as ourselves, we have got to be the solution for that.
Amen.
But we can't be sitting up in segregated churches, both economically segregated, racially segregated, provided our communities are diverse economically and racially and ethnically, and then just be talking about, but I love you.
Look,
Come on, man.
LA attracts.
Let me say one more thing about LA real
Yes.
fast. Coming from the South, too, because the whole thing is, when you come to LA, that's the melting pot.
Yeah.
One thing we had in our script that got deleted, that's fine, but was a statement by Byron, whom I will play, and I wanted to put this in just because I just came from the South, to say LA is just as segregated as the South. It is just as segregated as the South.
Wow. Wow.
Post and pre-LA riots.
Wow. Yeah. You know what, gentlemen? I am so sorry because another show is going to pop in at 12 noon. So we got a hard stop. Thank you so very much, fellas. Everybody tuning in, I will put up all the information to follow them and to support Indifferent as well. And also, we're going to have another interview coming up this Sunday on our terrestrial radio show, AM/FM. I'll drop that information soon as well. But thank you so very much, Pastor Leon Brown, Arnold Chun, right here on GODRadio1.com. We'll continue the conversation.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
It's all good.
Hey, Venja. Yeah.